The sensor array aboard the Galactic Confederacy vessel Whisper of Dawn lit up as it detected unusual energy signatures emanating from an unexplored sector. Captain Ta, a veteran Rixan diplomat with blue-scaled skin and 4 calculating eyes, studied the readings with growing interest. "Analysis, Officer Kim," he asked, turning to his science officer. Kim adjusted her translucent antennae and reviewed the data. "Unknown propulsion signatures, Captain. Extremely powerful. Whatever's generating them must be substantial." The Confederacy, comprised of 17 spacefaring species, had protocols for such discoveries. Within 12 hours, they had assembled a diplomatic team and plotted a course toward the anomaly. As they approached the edge of what they would soon learn was human territory, the crew fell silent. Massive objects orbited several planets, objects so large the initial scans registered them as small moons. "Those can't be ships," whispered Officer Song, her feathered crest rising in alarm. But ships they were. The Whisper of Dawn cautiously approached the nearest vessel, a behemoth of metal and light stretching nearly 8 kilometers from bow to stern. "Open communications," ordered Captain Tai, straightening his ceremonial collar. A human face appeared on screen, surprisingly similar to several Confederacy species yet distinct in its features. "This is Captain Hyun of the HSS Horizon. Welcome to human space." Captain Ta blinked all 4 eyes in sequence, a sign of respect among his kind. "I am Captain Ta of the Confederate vessel Whisper of Dawn *. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." Captain Hyun nodded, her dark hair shifting slightly with the movement. "We would be honored to receive your delegation, Captain. I'll transmit docking instructions to your navigation officer." After the transmission ended, the bridge fell silent again. Officer Song turned to Captain Tai, her feathers still raised. "Sir, the size of that vessel, it's beyond anything in our records." "Indeed," Tai agreed, his scaled skin shifting to a deeper blue, a sign of thoughtfulness among the Rixan. "Prepare the diplomatic team. I want full sensor readings on that ship, but keep all weapon systems powered down. We are guests here." The Whisper of Dawn once considered a large vessel by Confederacy standards at 800 meters in length, approached the human ship slowly. Up close, the size difference became even more apparent. The horizon dwarfed them completely, like a space whale next to a minnow. Officer Bond, at the helm, whistled through his trunk-like nose. "Look at those propulsion outlets. The energy required to move something that size. Their technology must be incredibly advanced," Kim noted, still studying her readings. "Or incredibly wasteful." Captain Ta shot her a warning glance. "No assumptions until we know more. Remember the Jorax incident?" The crew nodded, recalling how a misunderstanding about resource usage had nearly started a war with the crystal-based Jorax species 30 cycles ago. As they neared the designated docking area, they realized it was a massive bay that could hold dozens of ships their size. The horizon had multiple such bays visible along its hull. Why would any species need vessels of this magnitude? Song asked, not expecting an answer. The Whisper of Dawn eased into the docking bay, guided by blinking lights. As the ship settled into place, they could see tiny figures moving about, human workers in environmental suits. "Preparing for disembarkation," Tai announced. "Diplomatic team only. Standard first contact protocols." The team assembled in the airlock. Captain Ta, Officer Kim for scientific assessment, Officer Song for cultural analysis, and 2 security members who carried no visible weapons as a sign of trust. As the airlock cycled, Officer Kim made a final adjustment to their universal translators. "Atmospheric analysis shows it's oxygen-nitrogen-based, compatible with most of our team except bond gravity slightly higher than our standard." The outer door opened, revealing a welcoming party of humans. 5 of them stood in a line, wearing what appeared to be formal attire, dark blue uniforms with gold accents. At their center stood Captain Hyun. Ta stepped forward, performing the traditional Confederacy greeting. Arms spread wide to show no weapons, head tilted to expose the neck in a gesture of trust. Captain Hyun smiled and extended a hand. We prefer this greeting. A handshake. It symbolizes friendship and equality. Ta hesitated only briefly before extending his scaled hand. The touch was strange, but not unpleasant. Welcome aboard the HS Horizon, Hyun said. We have prepared a tour and meeting facilities. We are very excited to make first contact with the Confederacy. We've observed your communications networks from afar, but respected your boundaries until now. Tae's secondary eyelids flickered in surprise. You knew of us already. For several of your cycles, yes, Hyun confirmed. We wanted to be certain we understood your diplomatic structures before making ourselves known. As they walked from the docking bay, the true scale of the ship became apparent. The corridors were enormous, 30 meters high in places, wide enough for large vehicles to pass. This is excessive, Kim whispered to Ta. The resources required. A human officer named Lee overheard and smiled. Not excessive. Necessary. The Horizon carries 70,000 permanent residents and can support up to 100,000 in emergency situations. 70,000. Song's feathers flattened in shock. This is a city, not a ship. Exactly, Captain Hyun nodded. We don't build ships. We build homes that travel between stars. The Horizon has been in service for 22 years and will continue for at least another century before major refit. As they passed through a massive atrium filled with actual trees and flowing water, Ta noticed other alien species moving among the humans, species unknown to the Confederacy. You've had other first contacts? He asked carefully. 7 so far, Hyun confirmed. All positive. 3 species have established permanent embassies aboard our larger vessels. Larger? Kim couldn't hide her shock. There are larger ships than this one. Captain Hyun smiled. The Horizon is what we classify as a mid-sized colony vessel. Our flagship, the Olympus, is scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Perhaps you'd like to witness its arrival. It's quite impressive. Captain Tai nodded slowly, his scales shifting to a pale blue of uncertainty mixed with excitement. First contact with a spacefaring species was always a delicate dance of diplomacy and cultural exchange, but nothing had prepared him for the scale of human ambition. What kind of species built ships the size of small moons? And what would tomorrow bring when their flagship arrived? For the first time in his long diplomatic career, Captain Tai felt genuinely humbled by the unknown. Captain Tai led his delegation aboard the HS Horizon, a vessel the humans casually referred to as a mid-sized colony ship. The boarding tube connected to an entry bay large enough to accommodate the entirety of Ta's diplomatic vessel. The ceilings, murmured Park, the delegation's anthropologist, craning his neck upward. Why build corridors 30 meters high? Their guide, Lieutenant Jin, smiled. Efficiency. Our ships are designed as self-contained ecosystems. The main thoroughfares accommodate vehicles, heavy machinery, and environmental systems. The delegation was escorted through residential sectors with parks and lakes, manufacturing centers, agricultural domes growing actual crops, and entertainment districts bustling with thousands of crew members. Your ship houses 70,000 people, asked Officer Song, reviewing the statistics on her datapad. Plus visitors and transient personnel, Jin confirmed. The Horizon has been in service for 42 years and is scheduled for another century of operation before major refit. Captain Ta struggled to comprehend the resource allocation required for such construction. His own vessel, considered impressive within the Confederacy, now seemed like a mere shuttle in comparison. As they walked deeper into the ship, they passed a transport station where small shuttle-like vehicles loaded and unloaded passengers. You have public transportation inside your ships? Asked Officer Kim, her antennae quivering with surprise. Lieutenant Jin nodded. Of course. It would take hours to walk from one end of the Horizon to the other. We have a full transit system with 12 main lines and over 80 stations. The aliens exchanged glances. Their concept of a spaceship was being completely rewritten with each new revelation. Jin led them to a large elevator platform that could hold 50 people comfortably. We're going to visit the Central Park next. It's a popular spot for crew recreation. The elevator descended for nearly a minute before opening onto a vista that left the visitors speechless. Before them stretched an immense open space filled with trees, grass, and flowing streams. The ceiling, nearly 100 meters above, was composed of transparent panels that showed the stars beyond, yet somehow filtered and softened the light to mimic Earth's atmosphere. "This is impossible," whispered Officer Song, her feathers fluttering in agitation. "The structural requirements alone, 300 hectares," Jin said proudly, "complete with weather systems. We can even generate light rain in specific sectors to maintain proper humidity levels." Captain Ta watched as humans jogged along paths, played games on open fields, and lounged beside a lake large enough to sail small boats. Children, actual children, ran and played among the trees. "You bring your young on these vessels?" he asked, his scales shifting to a surprised yellow hue. "Of course," Jin replied. "Many of our crew members were born aboard the Horizon. Some are third-generation spaceborne." Park approached a flowering plant and studied it carefully. "These are real biological specimens, not synthetic. We maintain over 8,000 plant species and 500 animal species aboard," Jin confirmed. "Many are from Earth, but we incorporated compatible species from other worlds we visited." The tour continued through a market district where vendors sold goods ranging from fresh fruits to handcrafted items. The aliens were surprised to see actual currency changing hands. "You maintain economic systems on your ships?" asked Ta. "We find it provides purpose and community structure," Jin explained. "Though basic needs are provided for all crew members, the market economy allows for personal expression and specialization." They passed by what appeared to be a small university, with humans of various ages engaged in study and research. "Our education centers," Jin said. "We encourage continual learning throughout life. Many crew members complete multiple career specializations during their service." The next stop was even more astonishing, a manufacturing center where large machines fabricated components for the ship itself. "Self-sufficient repair capabilities," Jin explained as they watched a massive robotic arm forge a replacement hull plate. "We can manufacture about 85% of our components on board. For the rest, we maintain stockpiles or trade with other vessels and settlements." Captain Ta noticed that Officer Kim was furiously recording data on her pad. "The energy requirements must be enormous," she said. Jin led them to an observation deck overlooking the ship's main reactor, a massive chamber glowing with blue-white energy. "Fusion power," Jin explained, "supplemented by stellar collection arrays. We can operate independently for decades if necessary, though we prefer to resupply from gas giants when available." As they continued through the ship, they passed medical facilities that rivaled planetary hospitals, entertainment venues featuring live performances, and residential districts with apartments that would be considered luxurious even on wealthy Confederate worlds. "Why?" Captain Ta finally asked, stopping in a corridor. "Why build on such a scale?" "The resources, the planning." Lieutenant Jin considered the question carefully. "Humans evolved on a dangerous world with many predators and environmental challenges. Our history is filled with disasters, both natural and self-inflicted. This mindset shaped our approach to space travel." Jin gestured to the busy corridor around them. "We don't just build ships. We build sanctuaries. Every vessel is designed to function independently for generations if necessary. We call it the Ark philosophy." "You expect catastrophe?" asked Park, his eyes wide. "We plan for resilience," Jin corrected gently. "Our first ventures into space taught us harsh lessons about dependency and vulnerability. Now we build to survive anything, isolation, war, even the death of our home star if necessary." The tour concluded in a diplomatic reception hall, where Captain Hyun waited with a small group of human officials. The hall featured a massive window overlooking the vast fleet of human vessels orbiting the nearby planet. "What you've seen today is just one ship," Captain Hyun said, gesturing to the view. "Humanity has built over 300 vessels of this class or larger." Captain Tae's scales paled to an ashen blue. 300. "We're a young species by your standards," Hyun continued. "But we're eager to learn and share. The Confederacy has technologies and cultural knowledge we lack, while we have certain perspectives that might benefit your people." As drinks were served in elegant glasses, Captain Ta found himself reevaluating every assumption he'd made about these humans. Their ships weren't just transportation. They were flying worlds, built with a philosophy of abundance and redundancy that no Confederate species had ever considered practical. "Tomorrow," Hyun said with a smile, "our flagship arrives. The Olympus makes the horizon look like a shuttlecraft. I believe you'll find it quite educational." Captain Ta nodded slowly, wondering what further wonders, or shocks, awaited them. One thing was becoming clear. Humanity would forever change the Galactic Confederacy, simply by the scale of their ambition. "We've arranged something special for your delegation," Captain Hyun announced during the diplomatic dinner. "Our flagship is arriving tomorrow from Centauri space. We thought you might appreciate witnessing its entrance." The next day, the aliens gathered in the observation deck. A spatial distortion formed at the designated coordinates as the human vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel. "By the ancient stars," breathed Officer Kim, the HSS Olympus materialized in normal space, a vessel so enormous it made the horizon look like a tender craft. 22 kilometers of gleaming hull plating, weapon emplacements, and blinking navigation lights. "That's impossible," Park whispered. "The structural integrity requirements alone." Captain Hyun stood beside the stunned aliens. "The Olympus carries 3 million personnel and can sustain them indefinitely. She's designed to operate independently for up to 500 years if necessary." Captain Tai turned to Hyun. "Why? Why build on such a scale?" "Humans evolved on a dangerous world with high gravity and numerous predators," Hyun explained. "Our psychology is shaped by this. We build redundancy into everything. A ship isn't just transportation. It's a sanctuary against the void." Officer Song moved closer to the viewing window, her feathers fully extended in an instinctive display of awe. 3 million people. That's larger than many planetary colonies. "It's not just a ship," Captain Hyun said with unmistakable pride. "It's the pinnacle of human engineering and philosophy. The Olympus represents what we can achieve when we refuse to accept limitations." The massive vessel continued its approach, moving with surprising grace for something of its size. Smaller craft, each still larger than the asterisk whisper of dawn asterisk, moved around it like worker bees attending a queen. "The Olympus serves as our main diplomatic hub, scientific research center, and if necessary, defensive platform," Lieutenant Jin explained. "It houses representatives from every human settlement and the 7 alien species we've established relations with." Captain Tae's scales had shifted to a deep purple, the Rixon expression of profound shock. "How many of these flagships do you have?" "Just 3 currently," Captain Hyun replied. "The Olympus, the Everest, and the Kilimanjaro. Each serves a different region of human space. We're building 2 more, but they won't be completed for another 15 years. Park, the anthropologist, had been frantically taking notes. The resources required, the industrial capacity. "Would you like to tour it?" Hyun asked casually. "We can take a shuttle over after it completes docking procedures." 2 hours later, the alien delegation found themselves approaching the mammoth vessel. Up close, the scale became even more apparent. The shuttle they traveled in, itself larger than many Confederate personal vessels, was dwarfed by even the smallest docking bays on the Olympus. "Those are defensive batteries," Officer Kim noted, pointing to massive weapon emplacements along the hull. "Each one looks capable of planetary bombardment." Captain Hyun nodded. We hope never to use them for that purpose. They're primarily designed for deflecting asteroids and other space debris from the ship. But yes, they have military applications if needed. The shuttle entered a cavernous docking bay where dozens of other vessels were already secured. As they disembarked, the aliens were greeted by Admiral Han, commander of the Olympus. He was older than Captain Hyun, with gray streaks in his dark hair and a calm, measured way of speaking. "Welcome to the Olympus," he said simply. "I understand this is quite different from what you're accustomed to in the Confederacy." "Different is an understatement," Captain Tay replied, attempting to maintain diplomatic composure. "Your ship is larger than many of our orbital stations." Admiral Han smiled. "Come, words won't convey what seeing will." The tour of the Olympus made their previous excursion on the horizon seem brief and limited. They traveled by high-speed rail through the interior of the vessel, passing through sectors dedicated to different functions. There were manufacturing districts where massive machinery produced everything from microelectronics to hull plating. Agricultural zones stretched for kilometers, with fields of crops under artificial sunlight. Residential areas housed millions in comfortable apartments, each with artificial windows that could display any view desired. Most impressive was the central core, a massive open cylinder running through the heart of the ship. Here, under a simulated sky, stretched forests, lakes, and meadows in a careful recreation of Earth's most pristine environments. "The ecological heart," Admiral Han explained as they looked down from an observation platform. "It produces 20% of our oxygen, filters our water, and provides psychological comfort for the crew. Humans need connection to nature for optimal health." Officer Song watched as people picnicked beside a lake large enough to sail boats on. "Your people don't feel confined." The Olympus contains over 400 square kilometers of open space throughout its various sectors, the Admiral replied. "Many crew members can go years without seeing the same location twice if they choose. It's designed to prevent the psychological effects of confinement." They visited research laboratories where scientists from multiple species worked on projects ranging from medicine to physics. They toured educational facilities where children, some human, some not, learned together. They observed judicial chambers where the ship's internal laws were administered and commercial districts where businesses operated just as they would on a planet. "It's a civilization," Park finally said. "Not a ship at all. A complete, self-contained civilization." Admiral Han nodded approvingly. "Precisely. That's the fundamental difference in philosophy between humans and many other species we've encountered. We don't adapt to space. We bring our world with us." As the tour concluded, they were led to a diplomatic chamber near the command center. Here, representatives of 7 other alien species waited to meet the Confederate delegation. "We've established positive relations with each of these civilizations," Admiral Han explained. "None are part of your Confederacy. Each maintains an embassy aboard the Olympus." Captain Ta was stunned. The Confederacy had believed itself to be the largest collective of spacefaring species in this sector of the galaxy. Yet here were 7 completely unknown civilizations, all in contact with humanity. "How far does human space extend?" he asked carefully. Admiral Han activated a holographic display showing stellar cartography. "Our settlements currently span 87 star systems. We have diplomatic or trade relations in another 42. Our exploration vessels have mapped nearly 300 systems beyond those." The aliens of the Confederate delegation exchanged glances. Their entire Confederacy encompassed just over 100 systems, and they had thought themselves extensive. "And all of this in how long?" asked Officer Kim. "We achieved faster than light travel just 97 years ago," Admiral Han replied. "We're still quite young as a spacefaring species." Captain Tay's scales shifted through several colors as he processed this information. "Your expansion rate is unprecedented. As is our ship design, I understand," the Admiral said with a slight smile. "But we hope to learn from the Confederacy as well. Your species have technologies and cultural insights we lack." Perhaps together, we can build something even greater than what either of us has achieved alone. As they prepared to return to the horizon, Captain Todd took a final look at the vast interior of the Olympus. Humanity had completely rewritten his understanding of what was possible in space. More importantly, they had revealed a blind spot in Confederate thinking, the assumption that resource efficiency must always take precedence over redundancy and growth potential. The implications would take months, perhaps years, to fully process. But one thing was already clear. The Confederacy would never be the same after encountering these humans and their impossibly massive ships. The diplomatic meetings were progressing well when alarms blared throughout the horizon. Captain Todd was escorted to the command center, where tactical displays showed 5 Confederacy vessels firing upon human civilian transports. "The Krell faction," Ta said grimly. "They've threatened to act against any new species deemed a power imbalance." Captain Hyun's expression remained calm as she issued orders. The massive human warships moved with surprising grace for their size, interposing themselves between the attackers and civilian vessels. When the Krell ships fired again, the human vessels absorbed the impacts with minimal damage. Their return fire was precise, disabling rather than destroying the hostile ships. "We could have vaporized them," Hyun explained afterward. "But we understood these weren't acting on Confederate authority." Captain Todd worked with the human leaders to negotiate the surrender of the rogue faction. Throughout the crisis, he noticed how the enormous size of human ships had served as both deterrent and shield, their philosophy of abundance and redundancy proving its worth. The command center of the horizon was a vast chamber with dozens of crew members at various stations. Captain Ta had never seen anything like it, more like a city control center than a traditional ship bridge. 3-dimensional displays showed the unfolding situation from multiple angles. 5 Krell warships dropped out of FTL travel 10 minutes ago, Lieutenant Jin explained, pointing to red markers on the display. They immediately began firing on a transport. Commander Rock's expression faltered slightly. "Their ships are weapons of mass destruction by their very existence. No species needs vessels of that size unless they plan conquest." Captain Hyun shook her head. "Commander Rock, our ships are large because we build for sustainability and survival, not conquest. The vessels you attacked were carrying families, entire communities, to establish cultural and scientific exchange with the Ta system natives." Over the next hour, negotiations continued. Captain Ta worked as intermediary between the human commanders and the Krell faction. Eventually, Rock agreed to a supervised stand-down. Human engineering teams would help repair the Krell vessels enough for them to return to Confederate space, but weapons systems would remain offline. As the crisis subsided, Captain Ta found himself in a private meeting with Captain Hyun and Admiral Han, who had arrived from the Olympus. "Your ships absorbed weapons fire that would have crippled our largest vessels," Tay observed. "Yet you barely registered the impacts." Admiral Han nodded. "Multiple redundant shield systems, layered hull plating with self-repair capabilities, distributed power networks. We build to survive." "The Krell are not entirely wrong about one thing," Captain Tai admitted. "Your vessels do represent overwhelming military potential. Many in the Confederacy will fear that." "Fear is natural when encountering something new and powerful," Captain Hyun said gently. "But judge us by our actions today. We had every justification to destroy those ships, yet we chose restraint." Tay's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. "Your ship size, it's not just about resource abundance or even military capability, is it? It's about survival philosophy." Admiral Han smiled. "Precisely. Humans nearly destroy ourselves several times before reaching space. We learned harsh lessons about fragility and dependence. Now we build to ensure our civilization can weather any storm, natural disaster, war, even cosmic catastrophe." As Tai prepared to return to his ship to file a report with the Confederacy Council, he looked out a viewport at the massive human vessels positioned protectively around their civilian transports. The ships that had seemed excessive and wasteful just days ago now represented something else, a profound commitment to continuity and preservation. The Krell had attacked because they feared human power, but they had completely misunderstood the purpose behind that power. These weren't conquerors building weapons of domination. They were survivors, creating arcs that could weather cosmic storms. And in that moment, Captain Tai realized that the Confederacy had much to learn from human philosophy, not just about shipbuilding, but about planning for the long-term survival of civilization itself. 2 months later, Captain Ta stood before the Confederacy Council, concluding his report. The humans build as they do not from aggression, but from a cultural imperative toward self-sufficiency and survival, he explained. Their ships reflect a species that plans in centuries, not decades. Images of human vessels floated above the council chamber, drawing gasps from representatives unused to such scale. I recommend offering humanity membership as the 18th species of our Confederacy, Ta concluded. Their perspective would complement our own. 6 months later, construction began on the first collaborative vessel. The shipyards orbiting Jupiter hummed with activity as human and alien engineers worked side by side. Captain Tai and Captain Hyun observed the framework taking shape, smaller than traditional human vessels, but incorporating redundancies and long-term sustainability absent from Confederate designs. A new era, Hyun said, watching alien metallurgists applying their advanced materials to human-designed structural supports. Ta nodded. Your size and our efficiency, your ambition and our precision. He gestured toward the growing skeleton of the ship. Together, we'll build something greater than either of us could alone. The massive hybrid vessel would eventually be christened Unity, the first of many bridges between two very different approaches to the stars. The Great Hall of the Confederacy hummed with excited whispers as representatives from 17 spacefaring species debated Captain Ta's proposal. The chamber itself was impressive, a dome of crystalline material that showed the stars beyond. But even this grand space seemed small after Ta's time aboard human vessels. These humans build ships the size of small moons, said Counselor Vax, his insectoid mandibles clicking with concern. Their resource consumption must be enormous. Their efficiency is lower than ours, Tay acknowledged, his scales a confident green. But their resilience is unmatched. The Krell attack proved this. The chamber's central display showed the Olympus, dwarfing Confederate vessels nearby. The scale difference was stark and unsettling to many. We build to minimize resource use, said Counselor Lim, her feathered crest similar to Officer Song's. It has been our way for 12 generations. These humans seem wasteful. Captain Ta moved to the center of the chamber. Honored Council, I once thought the same. But I have come to understand that our efficiency and their redundancy are two sides of the same coin. We seek to use less. They seek to have more when needed. He activated a new display showing the interior of the Olympus, its vast parks, its self-contained manufacturing, its ability to house millions in comfort. When the Krell attacked human civilian transports, their massive ships absorbed damage that would have destroyed our vessels. When they returned fire, they did so with precision that our weapons cannot match. They disabled rather than destroyed, despite clear provocation. Counselor Rock of the Krell minority faction shifted uncomfortably. The Krell attack had cost them political standing within the Confederacy. What happens when resources grow scarce? Asked another counselor. Will these humans with their city-sized ships compete with us for the same star systems? They have offered to share their shipbuilding technology, Tay replied. And more importantly, their long-term thinking. They build vessels designed to last centuries, while we replace ours every few decades. Which approach truly conserves more resources? The debate continued for days. Some counselors feared human military potential. Others worried about cultural differences. A few saw only opportunity. Captain Ta presented data, shared experiences, and argued passionately for inclusion rather than isolation. On the final day, the vote was held. By a narrow margin, the Council approved offering humanity membership in the Confederacy. 6 months later, Captain Ta stood on an observation platform orbiting Jupiter, watching the construction of the first joint human Confederate vessel. The shipyard itself was a marvel, a sprawling structure where thousands of workers from 18 species now collaborated. "Impressive progress," said Captain Hyun, joining him at the railing. "The hull frame is already 30% complete." Below them, the skeleton of a massive ship took shape. At 8 kilometers long, it was smaller than the largest human vessels, but still 4 times larger than any Confederate ship ever built. "Your metallurgists have improved our alloy strength by 40%, Hyun continued. "The weight reduction alone will increase efficiency significantly." Ta nodded, watching as workers from his own species applied a new hull coating that would reduce micrometeorite damage. Nearby, human engineers were installing their advanced life support systems. "How are your people adjusting to our scale?" Hyun asked carefully. "Some still find it uncomfortable," Tai admitted, "but the younger ones are adapting quickly. The concept of building with room to grow is revolutionary for us." They watched as a massive section of framework was moved into position by construction drones. The precision of Confederate manufacturing, combined with the ambitious scale of human design, was creating something neither civilization could have built alone. "The Council was particularly impressed with your educational philosophy," Ta said. "The idea of training crew for multiple specialties over a lifetime of service. We've already implemented similar programs on 3 Confederate worlds." Hyun smiled. "And we've adopted your resource recycling techniques. Our engineers were amazed by your water purification systems." A transport shuttle approached, carrying the diplomatic delegation that would tour the construction site today. Representatives from all 18 species would witness the progress firsthand. "Did you ever imagine this would happen so quickly?" Hyun asked. "From first contact to joint construction in less than a year." Tay's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. "The Krell attack was the turning point. Seeing your ships protect rather than destroy, despite their overwhelming power, it changed many minds." They moved toward the landing platform to greet the arriving dignitaries. The shuttle that approached was itself a hybrid design, Confederate efficiency with human comfort. "My great-grandmother used to tell stories about the ancient days on Earth," Hyun said as they walked. "How humans once fought each other over resources and territory. How we nearly destroyed ourselves before learning to work together. Similar stories exist in our history," Tai acknowledged. "Perhaps that's the greatest lesson we can teach each other," Hyun suggested. "Your Confederacy learned cooperation between species. Humans learned cooperation among ourselves. Together, we might achieve something more lasting than either civilization could alone." As the delegates disembarked, Tai observed the diverse gathering: scaled bodies, feathered crests, insectoid forms, and human figures all mingling together. Just 1 year ago, humans had been unknown to the Confederacy. Now they were partners. The tour proceeded through the construction site, with engineers from multiple species explaining different aspects of the collaborative design. The vessel's massive size allowed for Confederate-style efficiency within human-scale redundancy. Its propulsion systems combined technologies from 3 different species. Its life support drew from the best of 5 different approaches. At the conclusion of the tour, the delegates gathered in what would eventually become the ship's central command room. Here, on a temporary platform, stood a naming ceremony prepared. Admiral Han addressed the gathering. "This vessel represents not just a combination of technologies, but a merging of philosophies. The Confederacy teaches us efficiency and precision. We hope to offer resilience and long-term thinking in return." A holographic display showed the completed design, a ship unlike any that had come before. "We propose the name *Unity*, Admiral Han continued, "for what it represents to all our peoples." The vote was unanimous. As the ceremony concluded, Captain Ta found himself standing beside Captain Hyun at a viewport, watching construction drones continuing their work against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling clouds. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Ta said quietly. Hyun nodded. "The *Unity* will be the first of many. Not just ships, but shared colonies, research stations, cultural exchanges." What do you think we'll build together a century from now? Ta wondered. Something neither of us can imagine today, Hyun replied with a smile. But I suspect it will be both efficient and impressively large. Tae's scales shifted to a bright, confident gold as they gazed out at the stars. Stars that would witness the birth of a new era of cooperation between civilizations that had found strength in their differences. The end.